are you
All right,
all set?
I can hear you now, Stu. Are we good?
Yes.
All right. I'd like to, all right, thank you very much, Stu. I'd like to call this December 1st, 2021 IT meeting, committee meeting to order. First motion of business is accept the minutes from the October 27, 2021 IT meeting. Motion by Paul, second. Second by Matt Hicks. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Okay, next is cybersecurity report. Roger, can you take us through that?
I can do that. You should have all received the cybersecurity report. I believe this was also posted on our website as required by statute, so the public can see it if they need to see it. So our monthly items of interest, our stats are pretty well consistent with our past history here, but our monthly items of interest are pretty interesting. I'll do the second one first, and that is the FBI got hacked and somebody used their email system to send out fake emails. So it can happen to the best of us, and that's why we're trying to stay vigilant. And then Karen had an article that she wrote, published in the NISAC News magazine, and also it was listed online. If you get the NISAC News feed, you saw that too. What the Chief Information Officer wants the executive to know in terms of, you know, things about cybersecurity and what's important and what's not important. So we continue to be involved, not only here locally, but Karen's involved statewide and at this point with some of the NACO stuff nationally, which is a good chance for us to share information and, you know, have a two-way street of gaining for us while at the same time sharing some of our expertise with other people. The other issue we have to talk about today is cybersecurity training. If you remember, we have talked about that in the past. Just as a quick review, we're trying to get all our system users trained. Then we're going to conduct periodic testing by phishing some of our folks, and then hopefully with a low failure rate, I don't think it's going to be a no failure rate, but with a low failure rate, we will do some remedial training, just short remedial training with folks that don't pass the test, for lack of a better term. And we've decided if we get to a certain percentage that we will probably trigger a county-wide retraining as well, but we haven't gotten to that point yet. We're still trying to get everybody trained. We started it by rolling it out to the department heads so that they could see what it was like, see what they were getting into. It's about a 30-minute class that everybody takes. Our department head compliance was fairly good. We didn't have too many folks left over, and last week we sent out an email to the folks that didn't take the training and got a few more folks up there. So it's going to roll out, and it has rolled out to all the employees, and we're just trying to get all that done. And we're going to try to communicate through department heads, providing them with lists of who's trained, who hasn't trained, so they can get their folks up to speed. This is important because we now have cybersecurity insurance, and part of that, the requirement for that insurance is they ask us what our training program is and how it's implemented. And we do get our training program for free through NYMER, I believe it is. So it's a good program. It's short. The good news is it has skills to transfer to home. Everything that we do here for cybersecurity, you know, you can take home and use with you at home in your own personal systems. And we also send out the newsletters. Just like the safety pins, we send out cybersecurity newsletters once a month with what's going on to our employees as well. And hopefully we're not going to get to this point, but if we can't get everybody trained, we're going to consider, you know, the department head has to consider how to get their people trained, you know, what incentives. But just like we say up to and including termination when people violate rules, even though we have no intention of terminating anybody, but the possibilities there, the consequences for this can say up to and including loss of your computer privileges if you don't take the test or you can't pass the test. So I hope we don't get to the point where somebody comes in and says, hey, my worker doesn't have computer access. And if that's the case, it'll be because they didn't complete the training, but I don't anticipate ever getting to that point. I don't think we will. I think our department heads recognize how important this is, but I just wanted to reiterate that with the committee. Hopefully they're supportive of this as well as being that important. so we can move forward. So that's in progress. We're probably not going to talk a lot about what works and what doesn't work with you folks in public meetings, because it just isn't a good idea for us to do that. But we wanted you to know that that's going on out there. It seems to be going fairly well. We know our people are busy. There's not really ever a good time anymore where you're not busy. It used to be when I was here, August was a nice calm time, and those times are gone. There's no such thing as a good time to catch up on stuff like that. So it's just something that folks have to work into. Try to keep it short, the 30-minute thing. Try to keep it informative, and hopefully we'll do well at that. I think so far the insurance company's pleased that all of our answers to the questionnaire they send out, we check all the boxes we need to check, and we're just trying to stay on track with that. So that's about it for cybersecurity.
Roger, quick questions on that. What percentage are we at completion percentage for the training, and when was the expectation for them to be completed with it? What was the
expectation was to be completed with it by now, which is not for I can tell you what the department head list is, because I saw that the other day, and I think there were 3 out of 20 some odd department heads we have. So I think that's really good, and I understand that it's hard. As a department head, you've got things coming at you from all levels. The lists went out to the department head of what their compliance is, but we didn't compile a grand total, or at least I don't have it available to me right now as to what the employee compliance rate is.
Okay.
I can tell you we're 100% in my office, but I kind of have to set the example. But and I've taken it myself, and it was interesting.
The other question, so we're not instituting a policy yet, but if we don't get compliance by the January meeting or the end of December meeting, December 20, whatever it is, 29th, we might have to initiate a compliance at that time. Is that what we're saying?
Well, I think what we're saying is, we're going to use hopefully gentle persuasion followed by firm persuasion. I think the IT director in and of herself has the authority, if she thinks there's a risk to the system, to cut people off.
Okay.
I don't think she's going to do that. She can speak for herself. She's on the thing, but we have to emphasize the fact that this is very important, because it can really, if you've seen all the ransomware attacks and the other attacks, it can, if one person not being able to use their computer is a heck of a lot better than everybody in the county, including the 911 center, not being able to use their computer. So we're in the persuasive thing. I guess I'm not asking for anything from the committee other than to join me in saying, please get this done, and joining us in backing up Terry if it comes down to the point where we actually have to do that. I really don't think it will, but I also don't want I don't want somebody to come to this committee or another committee and say, this happened, and have the committee go, nobody told me that was a possibility.
Right.
So that's why we're talking about it today. I don't think it requires a formal board policy yet.
Okay.
And I don't think that necessarily would change the mind of somebody who's not doing it. Yes, if you see what I'm saying. But it's helpful to make sure that, when Terry's charging up the hill and I'm charging up the hill, it's nice to look behind you and make sure there's somebody there.
Yeah.
Charging up the hill with you.
Yep. All right. Thank you very, very much, Roger. Terry, anything additionally to that you want to add on?
Sure. In answer to your question, in terms of compliance for the employees, we're at about 30% right now. And it has been a little over 30 days. I just pulled it up while we were talking, just to give you an idea. And just to emphasize a little of what Roger said, I would hope it would never come down to the fact of having to disable anybody's accounts. If we did, it would only be temporary until they got the training completed, because that certainly is not our goal. Our goal is to make sure that people have the computer, can use it safely. But we certainly, just to reiterate what Roger said again, we certainly don't want one person to make it so that nobody in the county has access. And computer safety is very important. And I think the program itself is great. And I think it will help people in their personal lives as well, because there's a lot of super good information in it, that's just general cybersecurity hygiene, if you will. And the initial rollout for everybody, we're trying to train everybody in the county right now with the 30-minute training. because we need to get it rolled out. We do have a process in place that'll then capture all new employees, and it'll just be part of the new hire process. And so then as we go through, I would envision yearly trainings, but they would be shorter, more brief, and on the pieces of technology that maybe are a little bit different than they were before. So it won't be a stagnant yearly training. We really want to try to keep it interesting and have it be interactive for people. So that is the goal. I mean, I think it's kind of interesting. Of course I do.
Yeah.
and fun. And we want to try to make it fun for the employees to participate in it as well.
You're a glutton for punishment, just like me.
Yeah.
It's a dynamic area too. So training by necessity, I think, will be different every year because the threats are different every week almost.
Yep.
So there'll always be something to talk about, and we're trying to, use the newsletters and everything to try to keep the awareness up, and then we're going to test.
Yep. Good. All right. Excellent. Hopefully we are, compliance, gets up where towards the end of the month, and, we have a more positive outlook on this as we move forward. So thanks, Roger. Appreciate it. Thanks, Terry. Any questions for Roger from the committee? All right, with no questions from Roger, we'll move on to Terry with IT and give a project updates and then the ticketing report.
Yep. So from the project update, you folks should have all of the reports that were sent out previously. The project updates, I don't know if anybody has any questions, but I did want to just make a comment on one of the projects that we just completed because I thought it was just a really good team effort and win. We just completed a project that was a large project to upgrade all of the routers and all of the sheriff's patrol cars. One of the technicians, Ryan, who works with our department, really helped to design the system. And with the help of the sheriff's department, we were able to get it all installed with a redesign that allows all the patrol cars now to have dual SIM cards, but by maintaining the same cost that we had previously. And so now they have AT&T and Verizon, which gives them much better coverage. And I just thought this was a really great project. So I wanted to just make a comment on that. We're also kicking off the camera project. Those are some of the highlights I had on it. I don't know if anybody had any questions on the project report.
Any questions on the project? I have a comment. That's great getting both services there and not paying any more money. So that's really great. So as many of us know, traveling through Washington County, in some parts of the county, you get good service with Verizon, some parts of the county, good service with AT&T, and other parts T-Mobile. So great job. Thank you, Terry. Any questions for Terry in regards to the project? All right. Oh, go ahead, Dave.
Terry, just had a question. On the cameras for the sheriff's department, how long do we retain that data?
Camera for the sheriff's department?
For the patrol people, the body cams.
The retention cycle is controlled by the sheriff, and it's based on, I believe, I'm not 100% sure. They control the retention cycle for their data. Okay. It's based on the type of crime and all of those type of things. I think there's a standard probably around 30 days. I don't want to speak for sure on that. But then if there's a crime involved, I believe they have different types of retention scheduled depending on whether it's a misdemeanor, is it a felony, what it is. If it's part of evidence of a case, then the retention schedules change based on that.
Okay.
That's my understanding.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Dave. Any other questions for Terry in regards to the projects? All right.
Okay. The ticketing report that I wanted to send out again. I don't know if you folks find this valuable or not. I think after a few months of running it, we'll be able to see how numbers kind of average out. We had quite a few people taking vacations this month. So that, or during the month of October, trying to burn off the vacation time that's been accumulating. So the hours are a little bit lower based on this. But I don't know if anybody has questions. Okay. All right. Then the last thing I have is a request. We are looking to finalize and button up the purchase of the Caseload Explorer application for the probation department. With the purchase, we've gone through and done some negotiating with a vendor to incorporate the data migration. The entire project has come in over what the $75,000 that we initially thought it was going to be. It is $85,000, so it's $10,000 over for the first year. But we'd like to move forward with that. We've had some conversation internally of the best place to find the extra 10,000, and it's been suggested that possibly just the county contingency would be the best place to draw it from, unless you all would prefer to draw it from the IT contingency. So I'd like to make a request, I guess, to move, I guess I need acceptance from this committee and then to move it to finance. Would that be the right procedure?
Yeah, so well, I guess a motion to accept the project at the 85,000. First off, I want to say thank you to Terry, because to give a little backstory on this, when she said she negotiated with the contract, she negotiated $30,000 off the migration of the information. So they originally came to her with a $40,000 proposal, and she got it down to 10,000 to do the migration. So thank you on that very much, Terry. So first, I'd like to entertain a motion to accept the new project total 85,000 from the committee. Moved by Paul, second by Sue. Any dialogue? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. Thank you. And then I'd like to entertain a motion to move that to finance, and it can be figured out in finance where we're going to pull the money from, whether we pull from contingency or whether we pull from IT project line. But I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to accept a motion to move that to finance. Motion Sue, second by Paul. Any further dialogue on that? Go ahead, Matt.
So now would be a budget amendment in finance to pay for that 10,000 out of, and to make a choice then.
Right.
Do you know what's in the IT contingency fund?
I don't have that number in front of me, but I want to say it's a couple 100,000, Terry, does that sound right?
Yes, 200 and change, I believe, yeah.
My recommendation as the budget officer, and he can, you all can decide what to do. At this point in the year, I think it's more beneficial to tap the regular general fund contingency and leave the IT reserve in place for some larger scale projects that we, that come up maybe unexpectedly or expectedly. Not that 10,000 is insignificant, but I think at this time of year, tapping regular contingency is really the beneficial way to go.
So Jim will let the budget officer and the treasurer decide in finance where they want to go, right?
Yep, exactly.
Sounds good.
All right. All in favor? Any other questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Carries. All right. Thank you very, very much, Terry. Anything else?
I don't have anything else today. Thank you all very much.
Anything else to come before? Yeah, go ahead. Sue first.
Jim, I was thinking about a few years ago when we were talking about IT and what that was going to look like, and interviewing Terry. And Terry, I can't even imagine being here now without your leadership. What a great job you've done. And just listening to the updates of everything and how the county's working through with the COVID and just the change of technology. So I just want to express my gratitude and thank you very much for your leadership.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sue. I was, same thing in regards to COVID and being more remote. We definitely have more laptops out there. We have more exposure. So thank you very much to Terry and as well as cybersecurity for their due diligence. Bob Hankey, go ahead.
I should have gone first and let her, say something nice before I complain. This is not, I probably wouldn't have brought this up in committee, except I think it's got some general application. I have got a county loaner laptop, which I use to do all the email and all the Zoom meetings, just for security reasons, as opposed to putting it on a town machine or a private machine. And I know that several other supervisors are the same. And I have been finding that when I use it to Zoom, I've had 3 instances in the past month that all of a sudden there's a little blue screen that comes up and says you're going to be updated in 2 minutes. The computer will shut down, save everything you're doing. And it is true to its, what it says. It shuts down in 2 minutes and right in the middle of the Zoom meeting. And I'm off for however long it takes to update. It's been as little as, a couple of minutes, and then you got to reattach. It's been as long as 10 minutes of doing it. This is, I mean, it's not good to miss something in the meeting, but it's a little more significant. We had one that it was trying to do that when I was making the quorum as vice chair. And if it had fortunately we got done with the meeting before it blinked off, but had it blinked off, they would have to stop the meeting until I could get back on the thing. Is there some way we could modify that so that we could, decline that or something? I understand that things got to be updated and you've got, mechanical processes to do this, but having absolutely no control over it is a little bit tough when in a Zoom environment.
Yeah, so yes and no. So the company-wide or the county-wide policy that's on all devices is, and it's very important from a security standpoint, is that we do patching. So third-party and Microsoft patching every Tuesday night. It actually takes place overnight at 1 a.m. on Tuesday night. So what we need is for everybody to leave their computers on overnight on Tuesday night. They don't have to be at the county. They can be anywhere in the world as long as they are powered on. So you have a power plug plugged into it and it has internet access. As long as that's the case, it'll actually take care of all the updates overnight Tuesday night. But there is a blanket policy that says if you're not on Tuesday night, the next time you power it on and connect it to the internet, it will force an update. We haven't made it. Well,
That's what she's saying.
but maybe it's my fault because we haven't communicated it well enough, for people to have that. We've tried to communicate that through the county, but if we make exceptions to that, the problem is that then the updates don't happen and then the reboots don't happen. And so I guess my suggestion is if you want to talk to me offline, we can see if we could work something out. If you want to leave it here at the county the night before or online or.
I really don't think we need to. If just leaving it on, powered on Tuesday night is going to solve it, that's a perfect solution. That'll take care of it.
Terry, can you leave it in sleep mode or does it need to be on?
No, it needs to be powered on. So you don't have to be logged in, just powered on so you can see the screen, have the power hooked up to it and have it hooked up to internet.
So have
Any kind of internet.
So have it open, have your laptop open, not closed, and, just power it on. And before you go to bed, Bob, just make sure it's not sleep.
Yep.
All right. I like that. It's not the golfer. It's not the clubs. It was the course director giving you the direction there. So, all right.
I don't do golf analogies.
Thanks, Bob. Any other questions for Terry or accolades for Terry? And all right, with no other business to come before, I close the IT committee meeting for this month. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Not the dog, not the gun, Bob.
Yeah. I think if I should have known that, I don't think I've heard that before. I know
How often do you turn it on? Every day or no?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because usually when I turn mine on, it'll update. When I shut it off, it'll say updates. And then
Right.
You get a little reminder box that says it's patch Tuesday.
Yeah,
Really? No, we don't get that.
The ones in here, the computer I had in the chairman's office would say that. Make sure it's on, that way.
Huh?
But it wasn't the same for laptop.
Wow.
It's probably just bad luck that it happened right in the middle of meetings, but it was 3 times in a row.
Even though it's been on for a little while anyway?
Yeah.
It's not when it first comes on.
No. Oh, no.
It just knows right when you're ready to.
Yeah, and I forget which one it was that I was making up the quorum, but the 2 minutes was ticking down to end the meeting, end the meeting.
We're still live, still anytime. Okay, I'm just making sure we have a quorum, and thanks, Bob.
Give a rock or something, throw. Just put a rock over there.
Welcome to Human Services Committee meeting. I'd like to take this chance to welcome Supervisor-elect Jim Nolan, and thank you for being here.
Beautiful.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. Can everybody see? Just wave, say hello. So we're going to start the meeting with the minutes of October 27th, 2021. Do you have a motion to accept those minutes? Okay, Jay makes a motion. Do we have a second? favor? Thank you. Okay, so we're going to go down into public health. Tina and KJ, I see you are both on. Tina, do you want to start?
Sure. Yep. Good morning, everyone.
morning.
The first thing we have on our agenda is to extend the Cambridge Valley Rescue Squad clinic contract. As you know, they've been assisting us at our COVID vaccination clinics as our VAX team. That part of their contract is due to expire at the end of this year, which we were hoping would be long enough, but it's not. So we'd like to extend that at least another year through the end of 2022. And again, that money that we pay them for that is fully funded under our COVID grant. So I just was looking for permission to extend that contract.
Okay. Jay's making the motion to accept the contract. Do we have a second? Matt, thank you. Is there any discussion on this? Okay. All in favor? Anyone opposed? Okay. Thank you, Tina.
Thank you. The next item has to do with the purchases we have to make under COVID. When somebody is isolated or quarantined, if they have no one else to get them items, we are required by regulation to fill whatever needs they have while they're under isolation and quarantine. So we've run into an issue where there's tax being charged. Sometimes there's certain places that won't take the tax exempt form without an account set up, things like that. And if it's just a few things we're grabbing for someone, there is tax on the receipt. So we're putting those through for reimbursement, but they are getting held up because of the tax, because of the purchasing policy does say that, that we can't be charged for the tax. So we'd like to request, we have a couple vouchers right now that are being held because of this. So our petty cash is not getting reimbursed at this point for those expenses. So we would like to request a waiver to the purchasing policy in order that if we do have items that are taxable and we are getting charged the tax when we're making those purchases, that we're able to put those through for reimbursement to our petty cash account. It is something that we get reimbursed for on our grant. So it's something that, that we'll get back when we do our claiming. But I just wanted to put it out there so we could get those vouchers paid and not have that issue moving forward.
Al, can you respond to that with the sales tax? Is how we would, the sales tax, is there something that we need to do to give them a little more ability to not be charged sales tax?
So you just need to give them exemption from our current policy for COVID purchases specifically, because we're going to get that money back. It'll be 100% reimbursed. Okay. So you won't have any county taxpayer dollars. It's still taxpayer dollars, but it's the federal COVID grant money that will cover it. And I want to thank the county administrator and the clerk of the board's offices have worked closely with us too. And we've come up with a process now that I think is working okay, and it should mitigate future occurrences of this. You shouldn't see a whole lot of these, but we do have some that, when they don't, Tina doesn't get 48 hours notice, she gets 5 minutes notice. So some of this stuff just had to happen, and so in order for her to be made whole, we've got to work with some of the vouchers that are out there. I think we do have a process in place that's going to mitigate future occurrences. I can't say there'll be zero, but I think that we do have a plan in place that should really mitigate any future stuff. But in order to take care of the ones that are out there, and maybe some stragglers that may occur unexpectedly, a waiver for this wouldn't be out of line.
Okay. So I think we're looking for a motion for a waiver.
I'll move the waiver.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Do we have a second? Jay, thank you. Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. That's Don and Jay and Matt, right? Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Tina? Thank you.
Thank you. I have several personnel requests. I'll start with our WIC program. They have a senior clerk that is retiring in the next week or so. And we'd like to be able to fill that, but with a senior nutrition aide. So it would be eliminating the senior clerk position and adding a senior nutrition aide to backfill the senior clerk position. It would more align with what the duties are of that position. So that's the first request that we'd like to move forward with.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Jay, any discussion on this?
It's been vetted through Danielle.
Yes. Yep. And the
Okay, all in
second one
favor?
is, sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. Okay, approved. Thank you. Go ahead, Jim.
The second one is in relation to that, in filling the senior nutrition aide, that would be through promotion. So it would leave a nutrition aide position vacant. So we're looking to receive requests to backfill the nutrition aide position based on that promotion to the senior nutrition aide.
Do we have okay, Jay makes a motion. Do we have a second? Okay. Matt, thank you. Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Thank you. Okay, Tina?
And the next three are related to public health. We have retirements coming up within the next few months. So we're looking to bring people on ahead of time before those retirements happen to get some training in. The first one is our senior typist. She actually is our person that's at our switchboard and does a lot of other things besides just answering the phone, which that in itself these days is crazy. But anyway, she's a senior typist. We'd like to fill that as soon as possible, but we'd like to fill that with it would be adding a temporary clerk to our staffing pattern until she retires, and then it would be backfilling it with a clerk versus a senior typist. So it's kind of two different things. It's adding a temporary clerk to our staffing pattern, and then that person would then fall into a clerk position once the senior typist retires at the end of January.
Okay, so we have two different motions to accommodate this, right? And so one would be to hire a temporary clerk. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we need a motion to send it to personnel, a temporary clerk.
To add a temporary clerk to the staffing pattern with a sunset. How do you want to do that?
Well, I was actually thinking, because it's not going to be a temporary clerk position, it's just the backfill, the overlap that'll be temporary. Right. So I'm thinking if we have a full-time clerk added to the staffing pattern, and then when the retirement of the, or I don't know if she's leaving, I'm sorry, why she's leaving, but the senior typist, when she leaves, that senior typist position can come off the staffing pattern.
Oh, that's
Yes.
a stay. The clerk's position is a stay.
The clerk position
Right.
will be the senior typist.
Yeah, sorry.
I like it.
I'm sorry, Al, did you say something?
I thought I like it.
Okay.
This is a change.
So,
Hey.
would someone like to make that motion? Jay, you're going to make the motion, okay? And do we have a second? Okay, is there a second here?
But Jay and I are the only ones on the committee today.
Well, it's you and Jay and Don Ward's here,
Okay.
okay, and myself. So that would be, and I think Dan Shaw. No, Dan Shaw is not on this committee. Okay, so Matt, did you second it?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Okay, thank you. Tina?
So the next one is very similar. It's our supervising nurse. She is planning to retire in April. So we would like to bring on someone again as soon as possible to help to start training with her under that same title. But again, it would be I don't know if you want to call it a temporary position, but it would be, we would have 2 until the one that is due to retire in April. So we would like to start advertising for that. We don't know what kind of interest we're going to get for that position. So we'd like to start advertising for it now and get it filled as soon as possible so we can get the person in here and get them trained on other things other than COVID. There's a lot of other things and programs that that person's responsible for that we really need to get somebody in here and get them trained, to know how to keep the agency moving with those programs. So we'd like permission to bring on another supervising public health nurse until and have 2 of those until the person retires in April.
Jay? Yeah. Go ahead, Jay.
I'll move it, but I had a couple of questions too.
Okay. And do we have a second?
I'll second it so I can hear Jay's question.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Jay, back to you.
So we're talking almost 4 months of overlap here, or what is the budget going to cover that, or do we have it in the budget to cover that? That's quite a long overlap.
Yeah, we do have money in the budget as far as a lot of what's going to be happening is going to be related to COVID and we have other grants as well that cover this person pretty much 100%. A lot of what she does is, in addition to COVID, is lead, immunization, and we also have our state aid. So the position is pretty much fully covered with grants and state aid. So it would be covered. The problem, 4 months does sound like a long time, but we are so buried right now with COVID that it's going to take a lot to pull this person away to be able to get the person trained. So that's why, and this person does have scheduled time off as well. So I think she has several weeks of vacation that she has to use. Depending on when she uses that, it could end up being more like 3 months that she'll physically be here in the office.
Okay. Any other questions for Tina? Matt, did you have any more?
No, I just assume Danielle will keep track of all this so that when the time comes and these retirements actually happen, we'll have to revisit all these issues and rechange the staffing pattern all over again to accommodate this, that's all.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so all in favor of the past motion? Aye. Okay. Okay, so Tina?
And the last one I have is we have one of our RNs, registered nurse, that's also going to be retiring in April. So we'd like to do something very similar to that, is try to advertise now, see what the interest is. We really feel like it's going to be difficult to get the positions filled. So that's the other reason we kind of want to start now, so we can see what's out there for positions. So it would be an RN that we would bring on again, to get trained. This particular RN that's retiring handles a lot of our new mom and baby visits. So it's, crucial that we get somebody trained in that area, in addition to getting them trained on all of the new COVID stuff that we're doing. So I'd like to request an additional RN position to be added. And it would be funded very similar to the way that the supervising nurse would be funded.
Okay. Do we have a motion to move that to personnel? Okay, Matt, do we have a second? And then we can have discussion. Don, thank you. And is there any questions for Tina on this? Okay. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, Tina.
I do have just a couple things under miscellaneous. Oh, sorry, Melissa.
So I just wanted to, since we're on your staffing subject, I just wanted to let the committee know that you and I had spoke a week or two ago, and I think working with the personnel officer, maybe if we could get some postings or advertisements out there for people that hold the qualifications for the nursing positions that you may need in the next few months. That might be a good idea now, just in anticipation, because I know you have some more retirements coming up in 2022. Mm-hmm. And this way we can kind of see what our pool looks like. Hopefully we have a pool. Otherwise, we might need to sit and discuss, how we are to get more qualified candidates, applying. So if we could maybe work on getting those advertised sooner than later, hopefully it'll save some running around later on.
Yeah, excellent. Any other questions or thoughts? Okay. Okay, Dana?
Oh, Chairman.
Okay.
Sue?
Yeah, Sam?
Yeah, I just have a question. Tina, could you explain to the members of the committee about the initiative we have going downstairs with the training and the contact tracers?
Yep, that was, I actually had that under my miscellaneous.
Gotcha, okay.
I don't know if a lot of you have noticed, but we have 8 new people started down in training room 1. And I wanted to thank all the other departments that were involved in getting that set up for us. It looks great in there. We actually have people down there being trained again today. We are so overwhelmed with cases right now in the county that we have brought on, like I said, 8 additional people. We're trying to get them trained all at once. So it's not piecemeal training and pulling our nurses away, each day to do the training. So one of our nurses is down there with them again today, doing training. So I think it's going to be great. It'll be bumpy. We've never had a satellite, office before, but we really didn't have the space here in our public health building to have them. So again, I think all the other departments that helped get that set up, it looks great in there, and it seems to be working well. So if you see new faces, that's who they are. Down in the training room. In addition to that, I also wanted to make sure you all were aware, we are having a Vax to School event at Hudson Falls School to get a start in on our 5 to 11-year-olds and do more of the 12 to 17-year-olds. That is something that it's a New York State offered program in conjunction with us. So that is on, like I said, on Friday, this coming Friday from 3:30 to 7:30. The links went out yesterday. So hopefully we can get that clinic filled up. Again, it'll be state, the state is supplying the vaccine and the CDMS people. And then there's a company that comes in and does the vaccination. So we will have a presence there, but just wanted to make you all aware that that's happening. And then we'll also be doing our own pediatric clinic. Our next one will be in Greenwich, and that'll be announced soon as well. So just wanted to make sure and then we're still doing our weekly clinics as well. I think we have another one scheduled in Hudson Falls next week. And then we have one this week, and we also have one at Backfilled Community Services on Friday. So we are moving along with trying to get people vaccinated. So I think that's all I have, other than I just wanted to thank everyone, other departments, they've made deliveries for us. They've helped us out in any way that we've asked. So I just wanted to thank everyone for that. It's really been great and been a team effort. So thank you.
Tina, I want to thank your public health department. I went over last week and just stopped in to see how you were doing, and the intensity and the hard work that everybody's doing could be felt throughout the room. Everybody was on the phone. It was, 5:30 in the afternoon, and everybody was still there. And you're all quite incredible. I also went down and saw the New York contact tracing this morning, and that also was quite a system going on, and everybody was learning and in the middle of working at the applications for the New York contact tracing. And
good.
Yeah, so it was. Thank you.
Yes,
I really appreciate it. Matt, go ahead.
Tina, did I hear yesterday that somewhere around 30% of the cases we've ever had in Washington County have all occurred in the last month?
Yeah, we have the highest number right now that we've ever had. Well, I shouldn't say that. Last week we had the highest number that we've ever had. We were close to 600 cases. Right now we're back down into the 400s. So it's very high. Our hospitalization rate is very high. So it's definitely very overwhelming right now, for sure.
What is that attributed to? Is it because Delta finally hit upstate New York, or what would you?
Yeah, I would say Delta's very transmissible, it's very transmissible. It can go through entire households. We're seeing a lot in businesses as well. We've had a lot of clusters in different businesses in Washington County. There's not a whole lot of mitigation factors going on. I don't know if you've been out and about, but there's not a whole lot of mask wearing going on. The gatherings, things like that. There's just not the restrictions that were in place before when all this happened. So, and I have to put the flu plug out there as well. If you haven't gotten your flu vaccine, try to get that as well as soon as you can. It's definitely widespread, through New York State at this point. We just had an epi call earlier today that they were encouraging everyone to get the flu vaccine as well. So
Thanks.
if you haven't.
Tina, can I backtrack on the agenda to
Sure.
the grant resolution request?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
That's
Yep,
okay.
I missed that, and I'm glad you brought that up.
Debbie brought
Oh, okay, thanks, Debbie. I have two resolution requests. One is for it's the regular public health preparedness grant. It's $52,099. So we'd like to request to have that added to the budget. That grant goes from July 1st of 2021 to June 30th of 2022. So that's been fully executed. So we wanted to make sure we get that added to our budget. So that's one.
Do we have a motion to accept that? Matt, thank you. And Jay and Don, a second, and all in favor? Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
And the second one has to do with we received a grant for our COVID-19 vaccine response. So this would cover a lot of our clinic expenses. The total amount of the grant is $176,662.14. The effective date of that, they actually backdated it for us to January 1st of 2021, which is great. So we can pick up those expenses. And that goes through June 30th of 2024. So I just wanted a resolution request to add that to our budget as well.
Jay moves that and Don seconds. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay. Okay. Thank you, Tina.
Thank you.
Tina, on the back to school, do you have enough volunteers?
Yes, the state is providing the staff people for, to be at the computers and also the VAX team. We have a meeting with Cambridge Valley this afternoon. So we are going to request their presence as well for the observation area. And then you will have a couple people at the registration desk as well. So I think we're okay there. Thank you.
You're welcome. I think 5 to 11 will be interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be a different type of clinic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so moving forward to social services. Services like me. I guess, Roger, I'd like you right in front of him.
No, that's where the computer is.
Okay.
Yep.
It's right up. Okay. Yep. Thank you, Tammy. Tammy, is it working? It's in sleep mode. It's in sleep mode? Okay. Yes. Or whatever.
Just come up and use mine. I'll change it.
Mark, will use it real quick, right? It's only take a second.
Okay. We're setting up Tammy with a computer, so we'll be ready. I like to see people. She wants to be able to see all your faces.
If they let us in. You want to join with video, right? You want to be seen?
Yeah, that's so.
Margaret is the only thing that's asleep. That's fine. You should be stunned that I actually know what I'm doing, to be honest with you.
I'm just hoping that you're going to be as eager to help with all the requests that I have.
Well, don't go too far. You're away.
No good deed.
Just try that.
Thank you very much. If I had known I was sitting here, I would have had a pulley.
Okay, welcome, Tammy.
Thank you. I also have some backfill requests, and these also have all been discussed with Danielle. She is aware of all of them. The first one that I have for a request is a senior social services examiner position.
Okay. We have a motion to move that to personnel. Okay, Jay and Don seconds. Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Okay, thank you. Okay,
Thank you. And then I have a social services examiner, not, the title we just used was senior. I actually have 3 separate social services examiner positions I'm asking to fill. 2 of them are positions that have been open for a short period of time, or in some cases a little bit longer. One of them is the result of the backfill to the senior position that we just requested. So there are 3 social services examiner positions that I'm asking for.
And you have a motion, Matt?
Sure.
Okay. And Jay seconds. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Thank you.
Thank you. I have an account clerk also to request. This is the result of taking a different title, a higher level title in a different sequence within our department. That's why this position is open.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion. Matt? And Jay? And Don? Thank you. All in favor? That's all of us. Thank you.
Thank you. And then these next 3 positions will be the result of the backfill to our director that's retiring. So the first is a grade B case supervisor position. That is the title that the person who has been selected to be director is in. It is also a promotional title, so there are other titles below it that I need to have backfilled.
Okay.
This is basically a cascade.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. I'm with it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and do we have a second? Jay? Okay. And all in favor?
Was that motion for the cascade of all of them? The other 2 positions as
Let's not
well?
get carried away, Tammy. That was nice of you to get to the computer.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to be clear. So then, I also have a request for a senior caseworker position. That is the result of the cascade.
I'll move it.
Okay. And second? Okay. Okay, all in favor? Yep. Thank you.
And I have a request for a caseworker position that is the result of the cascade of the director's backfill.
And if you don't fill that, you don't need the other 2.
And Al wonders why we don't like doing this. This is the fun part of the whole thing. You know it. I'll move it.
Okay, thank you. And do we have a second? And do we have more discussion? No. All in favor? Thank you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Next is a request to fill the 3 caseworker positions that we were adding on as the result of the expansion of foster care recruitment and certifying foster homes. So this is, we've already added the grade B supervisor and the senior caseworker position that had also came as a part of that entire package that was discussed throughout the summer and fall. These 3 positions we held off on filling and would like to be able to move ahead and fill them for the start of the 2022 budget year.
Okay, do we have a motion for that?
This is a stimulus program.
It was the result of expansion, actual changes in how we are going to do business with foster care, and it's going to take time to lift that. The additional resources that they will be utilizing is a result of the stimulus. So it goes hand in hand with the ERA funding that has been earmarked within the general fund, I believe it is, for foster care recruitment and expansion.
Only a piece of your plan that you presented was actual salary out of the money that the board set aside in that special contingency for you.
None of it was for salaries of permanent full-time staff.
Right.
That was, right, none of that.
These free caseworkers are not out of the set-aside money.
Okay. Regular foster care program.
That money that was set aside, there's a draft plan out there, right?
Yes, and there is also some funding in there for a part-time position, to pay a part-time position that I have next on my list,
Not one of these three.
but it is not these three.
This is county, state, federal money.
Gotcha.
I do hope to show that in time that this will be neutral, cost neutral for us. Okay. Do we have a motion to move these?
Yep.
Okay. Matt? Second? Don? All in favor? Okay, thank you. Yeah, and go ahead.
This one, Tammy, I guess, how do you feel about filling 4 caseworker positions? Do you have the candidates for it? Because I know that's always been a struggle for that position.
It is going to be a struggle. I can't right now tell you exactly where we're at on that list. I am very confident that with all of our lists, we are going to be having to look at provisional candidates with time. Before tests are given again, before lists are produced again, we are going to have to go to provisional. Caseworker has been posted, and the last I knew, there had only been 4 people that had signed up to take the test.
So even if they all pass,
Right.
and you feel that they would be great for your department,
Yes,
otherwise we're going to be looking. Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Something to be aware of. Yeah, the civil service process worked, for the reasons that it was created. Over time, it has become more difficult, but with the result of the pandemic and the job surge that is out there, it is not an efficient system to fill the positions that we have.
Very helpful when you have enough candidates so we can actually supply you with a list
Yes.
to be able to pick from, but when that list, it doesn't even cover the
Right.
vacancies you have, it's,
Yeah.
more of a hurdle.
Back in the day, we'd have a list with 30, 40 names on it.
Right. Challenge. Thank you.
So just to share, rather than continuously calling this the new unit or the unit that's gonna do the foster care recruitment, we are also having workers within that team that had been previously assigned to our homeless unit, or we're bringing them all into this together, and we're calling that the Hope unit. There was a challenge put out to staff to rename this unit so that we didn't keep referring to it in the disjointed way that we were. So HOPE is an acronym that loosely comes from Homes, Opportunity, Positive Outcomes for Everyone. So that is what we'll be referring to it with in the future. And training specialist is another position. This is the position that would be part-time. I worked with Danielle on this and Melissa too, through our discussions of what the best way would be to add this in, but this would be a new title for us to use. Our intention is to have multiple. We've asked for 4 people that will be able to train once we identify foster parents or foster people that would like to become trained to be foster parents. We need to have somebody train them. And right now, just until very recently, the training wasn't scheduled at all. So we were going to need to look at people that had been trained to do this in the past, and as well as making sure that we are able to quickly jump in and train people as they are needed, either because it is a kinship placement from children that have been just removed from their families, and the preference would be for them to stay with a family member, and they would be certified to be foster parents, or whether it be that someone says, I would like to become a foster parent, as opposed to putting them on a list and saying, we'll have a training in 6 months from now. We want to be able to have a force of people ready to be able to utilize them for that training. So this is paid for, intended to be paid for through the ERA money that has been set aside. With time, we will have our staff trained, our permanent staff trained, and be able to offer that and hopefully but I'm gonna have to see how we go, how it turns out, as we move forward as to how many people we continue to need. But we'll only use these as we need them, as well as to help build our program.
So, do we have,
Training specialist.
do we have a motion to move the training specialist to personnel? Okay, Don, thank you. And Matt, seconds. Do we have any discussion on that? Al, go ahead.
Tammy, my only question, I guess, is these are going to be outside individuals, correct? Like current or former foster parents with skills to be able to train?
Yes, that and or former staff.
So have we looked at the options of doing them as a vouchered vendor rather than an actual county employee?
We had a very hearty bunch of correspondence back and forth with county admin and personnel and myself as to identifying how we were going to need these folks and how, it would be the best way to utilize them and draw upon them. And this is what we ended up deciding after consideration of a lot of other possibilities.
Okay, that would be my only question, is if we had vetted the ability to use them as vendors rather than actual employees.
Well, the original response to the need was to bring in 2 former employees to come in and train. So given that, it made the most sense just to go ahead and bring them in a temporary manner. And then we'll see where it goes from there. It becomes more of a permanent.
Our only hitch that has happened is that we felt these people were going to need to come in and train our staff as well as then training foster parents. The training for our staff to become certified is now posted and available, but we will still need these people to work with our staff as we're developing this program. I've just asked to have those caseworker positions filled. It's going to take us a bit to pull this entirely different unit together and move us forward. But it will be it'll be more of a bubble right in the beginning as far as training our staff, and then it will drift back more towards strictly the training of foster parents.
Okay. And did we had a motion and we have a second, all in favor for the training specialist part-time? Okay, thank you.
This is the last one for this meeting. I have a request for a community services worker position to be backfilled. This also is open because of one of the social services examiner positions that you've also just recently approved. The person, one of the people that is on that list is currently employed by us as a community services worker. This is a position that works in our call center in the ADRC, as well as providing transportation for referrals that our caseworkers provide in-house to be able to have people get from point A to point B as we need for them to do so.
Okay, Matt moves it. We have a second. Don, Jay, thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'll let your arm off that pulley now.
Danielle's gonna be busy at 1 o'clock.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is. I also had submitted through to the county or the board clerk a couple of handouts or things that I wanted to be able to show to everyone during the meeting. And so one is a chart on the emergency rental assistance program. I do have hard copies of it for anybody that's here. I don't know how this magic works, so to have it show on screen. Aha. Debbie Proda knows how it works. Thankfully.
If you need magic, that's the place you want.
She's a magic gal. So the beginning of this shows what the statewide data has been, just to keep you abreast of the situation with the ERAP information. The second part of or sort of the middle part of this document is what our local data is. And so I've broken that out by zip code for the number of applications that have been submitted this is about the application that's been submitted. It doesn't necessarily mean that they've all been approved or paid. I do have more of that data on here as well, but just to let you know, the total as of November 21st was 392 rental arrears applications had been put into the system. 333 were also done for prospective rent, and 151 were done for the arrears on utility expenses. So then, lower down on the screen, the total through November 19th, which is the last update that I have received, there had been 126 payments made for Washington County residents on rental arrears, which totaled $654,765. There had been 100 payments made for prospective rent, which totaled $213,655. So that will continue. Hopefully that number will continue to increase as the state is able to work through their database and the applications that they have received. And then keeping with the theme of the funding that has been released to assist people with expenses, there is now also a low-income household water assistance program available for people. There is some information about that on the screen. People can get more information on this through the OTDA, the New York State OTDA website. But essentially, it is to help provide assistance for backfills of up to $2,500 for fresh water and $2,500 for wastewater, or a total per household of $5,000. There has also been another program that has just opened up, and that is for legal services. I don't have that on this printout. But that is to help pay attorney fees for tenants whose income is at or below 80% of the area median income and that are facing eviction proceedings. So it is to sort of correlate and dovetail in with the ERAP program for people that need assistance in Washington County. That is the Legal Aid Society of Northeastern New York. And again, this is another program that is described on the OTDA website. That is Office of Temporary Disability Assistance in New York State. All of these programs are updated and given information is available to the public on that webpage. And that is all that I have.
Thank you very much. Any other questions for Tammy? Yeah, Al, go ahead.
Tammy, if the moratorium is allowed to expire in January, do you think you're going to see a surge in, especially the ERAP program and possibly the legal services program?
A surge of eviction is what you're asking about?
Of applications even in the program.
New applications are no longer being accepted. Okay. With the current ERAP funds, New York State has asked for funding to be, federal funding to be reallocated, and perhaps the doors will open again on that, but at this point, it is closed for any new application. I believe that the ERAP, what has happened and what is still in process, will decrease the number of evictions that we see whenever the moratorium is lifted. I do still think that there is going to be some sort of large number of evictions that will be happening statewide whenever that does lift. I believe that the state, not necessarily the legislators, but the people working within the state agencies are trying to come up with other ways to plug that gap, but I think that we will have a surge at some point. I just think that it will be smaller than what it was originally going to be before the ERAP program opened.
And I'm not sure with our current numbers and with the governor's recent actions, I'm not warm and fuzzy that the moratorium is going to be lifted, to be honest with you.
The other result of that, you would presume it means we have fewer homeless people, and that would mostly be right. But when people then are homeless, there aren't other places open for them to get into. So the lengths of time that we have people staying in homeless situations or temporary housing is getting longer.
Sure.
As well.
Tammy, one question. I received a phone call from New York State Electric and Gas regarding the increase in utilities for electricity. And they were talking in December it will go up 30%. And so that would,
their rates will go up 30%?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so is that covered under the heat or fuel?
I believe that the heat grant is actually going to increase as well. There has been some discussion of that with the state agencies. There has not been guidance released on it yet, but the federal government did release more heat money this year to states, and so that is one of the ways that the state intends to utilize that is by increasing the grant amount.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, any other questions for Tammy? I like the name. That's a great name. Tell your staff, good job.
Thank
Hope
you.
unit. That's good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so Community Services Board, I think I saw Rob on here.
I'm here. Good
Hi,
morning.
Rob. Good morning.
Okay. So first I'd like to start with a couple of resolution requests for appointments to the Community Services Board. First of all, we have a request to appoint Sue Mowry, whom you all know, from the town of Cambridge to the Washington County Community Services Board. Sue has agreed to serve on our Community Services Board. She sits on, she participates with some of our subcommittees for both youth and adults, and we think she would be a great fit for the board. The term would be a 4-year term to run January 1, 22 through December 31st, 25. And this would fill a vacancy created by a resignation of Claire Bromley, which will be effective December 31st of this year.
Okay. Do we have a second? Okay, Jay, any discussion? All in favor? Okay, approved. Great, thank you, Sue. I appreciate it. Okay, Rob?
Yes, thank you, Sue. I see she's on. Then my second request is to appoint Kristen Hardy, whom you also may know, is currently a lieutenant in the Washington County Sheriff's Office, town of Kingsbury, to the Washington County Community Services Board for the term also to run January 1, 22 through December 31st, 25. And she would fill a vacancy created by a resignation of Patty Hunt, who resigned after she retired.
Move it.
Okay, and second? Jay, all in favor? Thank you. Yep. Okay.
Okay, moving on, I have a third resolution request. This is to amend the 2021 Washington County budget. This is to allow for acceptance and pass through of some additional state aid that we are in receipt of for cost of living adjustments that we would pass through to our agencies. It's $12,920 in state aid from the Office of Mental Health and $7,740 in state aid from Office of Addiction Services and Supports.
Okay. Jay, you made a motion, and Don, second. Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Okay, thank you. Okay, Rob?
Okay, the next item is, again, it's sort of somewhat troubling. Looking at our expenses for the psychiatric criminal, this is where we have felony level defendants who are found not competent for trial. They are sent to a state institution for restoration to competency to come back and face their charges. I included a table in my packet that just shows where we are year to date. The table itself shows the actual expenses year to date through November. And there's a lag in the billing from the Office of Mental Health. And so we've only received bills through August at this point. So we've had enough funding in the budget, which we budgeted 100,000 in this line. We've had enough in the budget to pay the bills that have come in through August. The rest of the information here is found through, working with the Office of Mental Health, calling them, trying to find out who's in, who's being charged, what bills can we expect to receive. And so that's how I was able to arrive at the numbers in the table here. So our actual restoration expenses, those are the chargebacks from the hospitals for the restoration. Year to date, we're at 145,475. Also paid out of this line is the charges for the actual examinations. We have private psychologists in the community that we work with, and we've had 23 exams so far this year. The exams are performed at $175 an hour. Generally, an exam is accomplished in an hour, although sometimes it'll be 2-hour charge. So that's what the 4275 is. And then I just estimated, since that was really through October, just took an average and estimated an additional 855 for November and December for the examinations. So that puts us at 150,605. And unfortunately, the 145 represents 3 defendants, one of whom was in 105 days and then returned to the jail. And then the second one was in only 15 days. The third person was in 14 days in November and is still there. So potentially we're looking at the chargeback from the state is $1,085.63 per day. So for a month, if that person remains there through December, it would be an additional 32 to 33,000 in charges. So I did reach out to Al on this and talk to him. He said probably the best thing at this point is to just inform the committee, and then as the bills continue to come in, then we'll have to figure out what we need to do with the finance to cover the actual expense. Any questions on this? Or I think Al's on as well. I don't know if Al has any comment.
Al?
Yeah, it's because this is so fluid and it's still such a large unknown. My recommendation to the committee, if you're agreeable, is to wait until we know the number and then just take one swipe at it and fix it, rather than fix it and then find out we came up short and then fix it again.
Okay.
So if we could just wait till January, February, and then just fix it one time when the number is known, that would be my preference.
Okay. Yeah. Any other questions or thoughts on this? Okay. So Rob, you heard Al's recommendation, and that's works for everybody here, it looks like. So we can go on to the next.
Okay, so I'll be back in January, February to address that issue further.
Okay.
So moving on then, and my next informational item is about some New York State Office of Addiction Services and Support funding that we're eligible to receive in the amount of $41,250. This is designated for jail-based addiction services. And so I'm working with Sheriff Murphy on how to arrange for the expenditure of those funds in the jail.
Are there any questions on that? Okay, I think, Jay, do you have a question? Yeah? Melissa, did you want to say something?
Rob, do you have an update on the RFP for the peer-to-peer coordinator that was put out?
Yep, so that was going to be my next item. Just, was there any other questions on the jail-based addiction services? I mean, obviously, I'll come back with more information once Sheriff Murphy and I have fleshed out more of a, proposal or plan for how we'll use the funds.
Okay, Al?
Okay.
Rob, do you need a budget amendment for that, or is that already in your budget?
That is not in my budget. However, so I will need a budget amendment. However, we have the option to receive the funding in either 2021 or 2022. So obviously at this point, we would be opting to receive those funds in 2022. So once I have a plan together, I'll come with a budget amendment. It's not currently in the budget.
Okay, thanks.
Okay.
Okay, moving on then to the update on the Adirondack Veterans Peer-to-Peer RFP. I'm not sure if everyone's aware, there was an RFP issued for this program on November the 8th with an opening date of tomorrow, December 2nd at 3 p.m. This is funding that was a New York State Senate initiative. It's $185,000 annually. It's awarded to Warren County, but the stipulation is that the funding be utilized for a bi-county program, Warren and Washington. So it's really more just an administrative ease type of thing, that the funding flows through Warren, but it is designated for a bi-county program. Initially, Warren County had taken a lead, hired a coordinator for the program. They went through a couple of coordinators, 2 or 3, and then we sort of had some discussions with the chairs of the boards of supervisors, committee chairs, the Veteran Service Office directors, myself, the county administrators, and made a determination that at this point, rather than keeping it in-house at the county, maybe we should try going out to the community, RFP the funds, put it out to a community agency. So that's where we are in that plan. We have a process for reviewing the proposals. Reviewers will include my office, representatives from the Community Services Board, and then the RFP also stipulated appropriate elected officials. So that would allow for either the chairs of the boards of supervisors and or the chairs of our committees to be part of that process. So I'll reach out to both Chairman Hall and Chairwoman Clary to see if they want to be part of that review process. The RFP itself does stipulate a scoring and a rating directive there.
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions on that?
Okay. See none.
Okay.
Thank you, Rob.
Yep, that's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much. Happy holidays.
Thank you. You too.
Okay. Okie doke. Let's see. Okay, we're going into other business, and so at that point, Melissa, would you like to talk about a few things?
Yeah.
Thank you.
In 2020, the Board of Supervisors passed a resolution that authorized one-time compensation for the COVID incident management team members. I would like to see at this point if there is any interest in issuing another, I don't know if it's considered a one-time compensation, now that I'm asking if you want to do it a second time, for particularly 2 positions that are still just completely giving all their effort and time to responding to the COVID and managing day-to-day operations. And I guess the 2 positions that I'm wondering if you're interested in having this pertain to would be the Assistant Director of Patient Services and Public Health and the other position being the Deputy Director of Public Safety. Both of these positions are salary positions. They're on the exempt salary schedule. So they don't receive overtime. Many of the other employees, especially if you look at public health, they're hourly employees. So if they're working more than the normal hours, they are receiving time and a half. The Assistant Director of Patient Services actually filled in as the director for a few months and responded to all of the COVID issues that arose. And in many cases, the employees within her department were making quite a bit more than she was. The Deputy Director of Public Safety, I think everyone knows Tim with his COVID report and just his overall response, and he seems to work all hours of the day and night as well as the public health. So, I don't know if there's any interest in compensating these two positions. Like I said, the last compensation was in 2020. That was for the whole IMT team. I think at this point, it's probably appropriate just to narrow it down to these two particular positions. In 2020, it was a $5,000 amount that was given to each one of those people in the IMT. I don't know if you would like to consider the same amount or maybe an amount that's higher, up to $10,000 for these two individuals, or if you're not interested at all. But I just wanted to bring it to your attention to see what you thought.
Would anyone like to jump in and talk about what Melissa just talked about? Okay, Don, go ahead.
I think just seeing all the work that Tim does and where public health is now, and you take the job as a salaried employee, but then you end up with some unusual circumstances like we have now with COVID. And I just think we did it once before. I don't know. The other question would be how many other people are affected, but I know, and I think we know how hard and dedicated these two worked for our county residents. And I don't know what the right amount of compensation would be, but I think they've earned some extra compensation for all that they've done for the county and the residents and for the board. So I'm just throwing it out there. I think there should be some compensation for them.
Thank you, Don. I agree with you. I just think that sometimes, I don't know about you, but I forget to shut off my phone and I'm getting notifications at 4:30 in the morning or 5:30 in the morning. And I'm thinking, I don't think that there's some people that I think never sleep. And I think Tim Hardy might be one of those people. And certainly KJ has worked incredibly hard through all of this COVID, and so have many. But there is a difference between salary workers and per hourly employees. And I think that that's what the COVID money was intended for, was one of the eligible uses was to support and the people that work for us, that serve this county. So is there any other people that would like to?
Yeah.
Sam, go ahead.
Yeah, so Sue, I'd just like to comment that some of the responsibilities that they picked up in addition to this is coordinated with the school systems, which is a very complicated thing to do because you've got all the school systems out there. Superintendents are hesitant to make decisions without everything being staffed through us being the county, or the public safety and the public health department. That's a tremendous pressure that's on our individuals that are trying to handle this. And as far as the incident management team goes, those are the two areas that have really picked up a lot of the additional duty throughout this because it's an ongoing thing that has to be operated on a day-by-day basis. And they still have to do all of the rest of their director responsibilities, if you will, within their agency, keep all their other programs going. Their departments, fortunately, we've only had one instance in public health that they've had an issue with a COVID effective positive that they had to deal with. But, when we get down into our 911, Tim has actually had to go out there in his case and actually work on the communications aspect of it, because he's had some people that have been out and still continue to do all the regular functions plus the additional COVID requirements around to keep things moving. So I think this is well earned, well deserved, and we certainly have the monies there to do it. And I think it would be the appropriate thing to do, because they have put their heart and soul into this and continue to do that on a day-to-day basis. Coordinate with the state agencies is obviously not a easy thing to do. I've been monitoring traffic here with an agency just on the vaccinations for this upcoming Friday at the Hudson Falls School that the state is putting on. And our staff, both staffs in public health and public safety, are putting extraordinary amount of effort into making this thing just go. It's a state project, but we end up doing a large bulk of the work just trying to coordinate it. And they're doing a great job at those things. So I think that they go above and beyond. And that's not to say that any of our employees haven't or don't on a day-to-day basis. But these two have displayed a tremendous amount of loyalty to this organization and to the residents of Washington County to help as hard as they can in this whole thing of fighting this pandemic. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Anyone else have anything to say? Okay. Would we entertain a motion to send this to finance? Okay, Don moves it and Jay seconds. Any other discussion? Matt?
Yeah, at the risk of being the Grinch who stole Christmas, this is the first we've heard about it. I think this needs a lot more vetting, a lot more discussion. There's only 4 of us here out of 17 that are going to get this train leaving the station. I have to admit, over the last 10 years, I have listened to counsel, and he's impressed upon me the law of unintended consequences and how precedents are set. And I'm a little concerned that there's been no discussion about this till now. I'm not comfortable with that yet. That's just the way I feel.
Yeah. Thank you. Dave, did you have something to say?
Yeah, my point was going to be, that's why it's being moved to finance, where you have a bulk of all your supervisors for the whole committee there to discuss this. They'll get to air it and hear the whole thing there. That would be the reason to move it to finance. That's what you do when it goes to finance, is discuss it. And then we have all the chairs of our committees there to discuss it.
Jay, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with Sam. I was moving it, Matt, to get it in front of finance where we have more people to discuss it.
Right. Okay, Dave?
So I was just curious, I mean, we had a public safety meeting yesterday. Why didn't we bring this up to public safety? I mean, that's the oversight committee.
Well, of one of the employees, and then the other one is Health and Human Services.
Well, I understand that. But
they're just an effort, I guess, to keep them together, because this is the same resolution. They're 2 different departments, but.
Easy to muddle the water by saying, well, we got a meeting, we'll just bring business from one oversight committee to another oversight committee. I don't think it's the right way to do it.
Well, that wasn't the intention.
Yeah, blame me for that, Dave. Blame me for that, because I made the strategic decision that it was easier to bring it to the second committee than to the first, because then all the same people would be here to hear it. They're mostly on this committee, they're on the other one. So I didn't really see where it was a day earlier was going to make any difference. So I showed the blame for that.
Either we use oversight committees as they're intended to, or we bypass them all the time.
That's what we're doing, Dave.
You're bypassing.
That's what we're doing. Both of the chairs of that committee are on here. They're both on here. We're not overlooking anything.
Members aren't on here.
Pardon?
Members of public safety aren't on here.
Johnny Brooks here, he's the chairman of the committee, Sue's the chairman of this committee.
So you're still eliminating oversight committee members?
Well, they were on here earlier if they decided to stay for both of them. Some of them were. So you had a quorum of that committee, but they elected to get off.
If I could add also, I'm trying to think back in 2020 when that original resolution was passed. I don't believe that request went to all the committees for all the employees that were involved. I think it was just brought to finance, if I recall, but I could be wrong.
It was a different time.
Oh, and your point's well taken, Dave. It's a different time, so we can do it once then, but if we do it here, it's out of order because you don't like it. I mean, come on, let's be consistent if we're going to do things. And that's what we're trying to do here. It's not like this is not like it's being railroaded. We're going to take it to the finance committee if this committee recommends that. And all the chairmen of the committees and will get to discuss it and vote on it. That's the purpose of moving these things to finance. We do that all the time. We do that all the time.
So at this point, the motion's on the table. We have a second. And we'll take a vote. And whether you approve or not, those that are approved. So that would be the move to finance. So there's 3. Matt?
No.
No.
Need 4.
So we need 4, and we don't have 4 on the, we don't have anybody else on.
You need 4 yeses to pass.
Okay. 4 yeses to pass. Okay.
And I believe you only have, how many members do you have? 1, 2, 3, 4. So everybody has to be a yes.
Right. Yeah, we only have 4 on. So, so at this point, Melissa, maybe you can guide us on where this goes? Or Roger?
I don't, we can either bring it back to the committees at another time, I guess, if you'd like, one request to go to public safety and one to come back to health and human services, or, I don't, or maybe you're not interested at all. I don't know.
It sounds like I would like to go back to the public safety. Is what the board's pleasure is?
You can bring it directly to finance. Chairman can do anything he wants at his meeting.
Okay.
Any given supervisor can has to have it put on the finance agenda, or you can go back and start over.
Maybe we should have a separate proposal, because even the motion you made didn't have a dollar amount involved.
Okay.
We're sort of,
Okay.
let's have something concrete we can talk about, that we can vet ahead of time.
Okay. Sounds like a good plan. Thank you. Okay. Do we have any other business? Okay. With that being said, do we have a motion to adjourn? Mr. Ward, thank you very much. Okay. Thanks everyone. Have a good day. We'll see you at personnel this afternoon, right?